back. Let's just jump straight into it right now. Alright, delete that. Alright guys, welcome back. As you can see, we're gonna jump in straight into NetBeans. And I just fixed my typo error test one. It doesn't matter, like honestly, like just follow the steps and you'll just create a public class and then you'll have a main. But that's not important right now. The main important things before we start coding is I want to express these data types. So what we're gonna do here first is we're gonna start with the data types. So I just want to explain this before we go. So we got primitive, we got booleans. We're not gonna jump straight into booleans, but for you to understand right now, just keep it in the back of your mind. What a boolean is, it's basically true or false, yes or no. Pretty much just conditional statements. And then, but today we're gonna focus on mainly, we might jump into booleans, but we're gonna jump in right now into numeric values. So now, what's numeric value? A numeric value isn't necessarily any number. You got integers. You have integers, which is going to be defined in Java as int, int. Now, integers can go a long way, either being floats, decimals, as you can see, floating point. And basically what a float and a double is, it's basically it lets you have numbers after the decimal place. So you can have 10.000 and so forth. And now I'm going to want to talk to you about strings. So strings are words. Words that you can type on your keyboard. I don't know if you can understand these. Strings are really special, which is why they're non-primitive. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you this map real quick so you can get a little bit of understanding. So we're just going to close this out real fast. So not that. We're going to close it out and just move it to the top. So yeah, let's just jump right into it. So for Java, we're going to have to declare variables and also initialize variables. Initialization and declaring are two separate things. So to start, we're going to initialize an integer in a variable. So think of a variable as such as you have x. So x equals 1. Okay, we're going to get an error message right off the bat because this isn't the correct format. But what I want to emphasize here is that x equals 1. So in your math class, just think about it. Okay, you have x, and inside x lies 1. So now how we get the computer to understand this is we're going to want to initialize. So let's just start off with we're going to initialize a numeric value, so an integer. So int x. And then we're always going to want to use semicolons after every single line that requires an end statement. Well, you'll get the hang of it, but for right now, if you're going to declare a variable, you're going to need semicolon. So now we have int x. So the integer x can be represented by, we can now use x freely, such as x equals 1. And again, we're going to press our semicolon. So that's just the basis. Now we're going to want to do x equals x plus x. And so now what this is going to do is we're necessarily, and this is a comment, so just don't worry about it right now. So what we're doing here is we're doing 1 plus 1 equals x. So now, if we go into our lines, we initialized our variable x. And now, we declared our variable x. Then we proceeded to initializing it, meaning giving it a value, giving it a purpose, giving it a sense of value that we can use. So now here in this line of code, we're taking x again and we're modifying it. We're assigning it a new value. So we've initialized, we've declared, initialized, and then we're going to proceed into assigning x its new value by x plus x, which would be 2. So x would now equal 2. So in order to print this out to the computer, what we're going to want to do is we're going to talk to the system, the computer. So we're going to type system.out.print ln. For this purposes, we're going to use ln, and then we're just simply going to put x. Now, let's break this line of code because this can become overwhelming already. So here what we're doing is we're talking to the computer. So we're saying system.out. So instead of taking in, we're going to send out. The computer is going to send out, and it's going to print. And ln is just a format. There's different types of formats I'll show you right now. So if we go back to, so we go .print, there's a lot of, we got print, boolean, blah, 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 blah. And those are just the formats that it will follow. Print ln, print f. But yeah, for this purpose, we're just going to be doing print ln because I think it's pretty easy. And NetBeans just automatically adds the semicolon, but remember you will need the semicolon. And then here we're just going to add our parameter, which is going to be the x. So the thing I just did with the .print ln, that is a method. But don't worry about that too much right now. We'll discuss it later. But for the purpose of this, x is going to be our parameters, and we're going to print out x. So we're just going to go up here and compile our run, and we get 2, build successful. So that means we're all good. So now we're going to jump into strings. All right, now what we're going to talk about are strings. And strings are, a little bit more complicated, but just think of it as in you're writing in text, like on a Word document for, say, we're just going to want to, okay, so first things first, we're going to want to declare that we're writing a string. We're going to want to tell the computer that, hey, we're going to use a string. We're going to use words, letters, and not numbers. So in order to do that, all we're going to do is do capital S, T, string. We're going to do space, and then we're going to just give a variable that we want to name. So in our case, we'll just stay with X. Then we're going to do equals. Then we can just do double parentheses, and we'll just say hello. And then of course, as mentioned, you're always going to want to finish your statement with a semicolon. And so then now if we do the same thing with system dot output, print, yeah, my bad, I'm sorry. Then we're just gonna do X, and we're gonna go compile our code. There you go, and the system's gonna print out hello. So now we can also mix both of the types. So if we're gonna create a new, we're gonna mix the two. So we're gonna print out hello, and then we're gonna add another string to our string. And something that we want to make sure is that we're at here. I'm gonna add x, which is a string, plus another string. So I'm just gonna say hello, and I'm gonna just put John. So now if we run it, we're gonna get hello John. And as you notice right here in the command or the output, we're missing the separation. So this is something to know. You can always add it like that, or you can simply just, add a separation and then, just do it like so. But I mean, you're not gonna really need to use that. It's just some little tips and tricks to familiarize yourself. And then we can also, of course, so now let's see what happens when we try to add a number. So if we do 6, we'll see what happens. It's not gonna crash. And that is because what it's doing, it's treating the 6 as a string. And that is because our string over here is our string x is a string, so you can't mix data types. Of course, we can definitely parse the integers and strings, but that's going to be later on in the future. So yeah, that's pretty much the whole sum of strings. I honestly don't think you need more practice on this besides literally that. Just know your data types, and here I'll do another example of, we'll do chars, we'll do character, and what character pretty much are is just going to be single quotation marks, and we're just going to do any letter, like a J. We're just going to do J, and it's going to be the same thing. And so now if we do Y, that should print out, yeah, so it'll print it out, but it's just treating it as one whole entity. Or actually, you know what? Scratch that on the number. It'll print it out just because it'll mix both of them. It'll mix them all. But oh wait, actually, there you go. Yeah, but either or, it's just gonna follow the same thing. But now there is some things where it'll matter, but we can discuss that later. But for the most part, I mean, that's pretty much all you really gotta know, the basics. And so now let's delete it. Now let's get some more practical use. So what we're gonna want to do is we're gonna make we're gonna do scanner, and just stay with me. So scanner, here we'll do x, or actually that's better, equals new, and then we're gonna do scanner, and then we're gonna do system dot in. Okay, so now let's break this down real quick. So we're going to be calling in scanner, and we're going to be naming the scanner in. You can name it anything you want. For this purposes, we're just going to use it in, but I mean, you can do X, Y, Z, anything you want, but I just think it's easier sometimes, just something simple that you want to do. And then what we're going to want to see here is that we're going to create a new, so scanner new, so we're declaring its data type in a sense. So scanner new, so think of it in this sense. So we're going to do int, equals 5. So you see what we're doing here. So we got the int, same thing as a scanner, the name, and oh, but I would not use the same one. But now we got the name of our object that we're going to be calling it. And then we're going to equals it, and then we're going to initialize it. So here we're initializing it as in it's going to be a new scanner, and it's going to be taking in the stream in. So input towards the computer, and that is what, and that's why I have an error. And that's pretty much it. Wait, what? Oh yeah. In order to use the scanner, we're going to want to use a built-in class of from Java. So all we're going to do is, well, honestly, look, we can just click on this, and we're just going to be import Java util scanner. So now what we're going to have here is we're going from the Java package, and we're going to get into utilities, and we're going to take out scanner. So there's another way to do it. You can just simply do an asterisk, and it'll work just fine. Basically, it's just taking in all the classes from the util pack, and all the methods from the utility pack. So in this sense, we'll just keep it as scanner, just to keep it simple. And so now that we have that, we're going to have to ask a question for user input. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to do system.out.println, and this is just because what we've been doing this whole time is we're just typing stuff in to the computer. So this is what's going to be, this is what's going to be coming out. So what's going to come out is we're just going to say enter a name. Do whatever you want. Whatever's in the string is going to output onto the screen. So if we just run the program, it's going to say enter a name. Now, how do we get the computer to store this value? Well, the same way we've been storing anything is we're going to create a variable. So we're going to do string. Oops. We're going to do string equals name. My bad. Sorry. Name equals. And now remember, the scanner is helping us take the input in stream going into the computer. So we're going to want to use our scanner. So in, which is our name right here. You can see it highlighted. Dot, and then we're going to do next. And as you can see, we have a bunch of methods coming in. And if we go look into the one we're going to be using is next line. And so now if we use it, advances this scanner past the current line and returns the input that was skipped. This method returns the rest. Well, I mean, you get the idea. We're just going to read this. You can pause it and read it, or do what you want with it. But basically, this reads the whole entire line. And as we can see over here, we have next double. I'll even scroll down. So we have a next double, next float, next integer, and based on the data type you're wanting to be stored, you're going to want to choose the appropriate one. So if I choose next integer, it's assuming that I'm putting in an integer, so I will not be using string. If I change, we're going to get an error. So if I change it to integer, now it's feasible and it'll oblige with it. So now we're just going to return it back to string. And this, we're going to just change it back to next line. And what this is all it's going to do is, if I have a space, it's going to take the entire line of code. We can do, if that's not what you're going to do, we can just do dot next. But I mean, I assume that dot next line will be better. But now there is one weird thing that happens. So if you have an integer, if you do dot n next, and then you ask for dot next line, it's gonna skip. But we'll see that in later times, or if not, you can just Stack Overflow it if you don't know what's going on. But for this purposes, we're just gonna do it like that. And now we're gonna enter name. We're gonna put John. Build successful. Just to make sure that it is successful, we're gonna do system.out.println. I know this is all pain. I'm sorry. And then we're just gonna write name for our variable type. No, we do not need our quotation marks, because we're not gonna be printing out anything we're gonna enter. We're gonna print out what's already stored. So we're gonna just do a name, and all we're gonna do is compile, enter name, John. John's gonna be printed out, or we can do it simply as do quotation marks, and then we're gonna add the name at the end, and we're just gonna be my name is space, and then we're gonna just do John. My name is John. And as you can see, I overdid it with the space, but we can run it again. So we'll do Han. Hi, my name is Han. And so that's pretty much the basic run through of some fundamental ideas we're going to be needing in programming. So we'll leave it at this. Next video, I'll try to talk about Booleans, conditional statements, and different types of how do I say it? Assignment values. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. So, catch you on the next video. Subscribe if you're learning, or if you're not learning. I mean, I feel like I'm going pretty fast, but I think this stuff is not that hard to comprehend. Or if you at least watch the video over and over again, I mean, I'm pretty sure you'll catch on to it. But this, like I said, this isn't really like programming in a sense. You're just pretty much enter name. I can do that in the Google Docs, but the sense of getting user info, I mean, I guess that's pretty cool. But yeah, so make sure to like and subscribe, and